When we were young, the questions, what do you want to be or what do you want to do for this country, is always around. The most mesmerizing thing about it is we always have the answer. We always answering those questions without any hesitation at all, as if we already knew what is the right answer to that question. I want to devote myself for my beloved country. Yet everything will always come to an end. As we grow up, we started to learn about things that makes us lose hope in this country's future. Let's name it: corruption, inequality, discrimination, etc. We begin to think, I don't find any spark of hope in this country's future anymore. If we try to break it down like that, it sounds way too miserable, isn't it? To think that the young us, who were thinking about the best way they could do to serve this country, had transitioned into the present us who think, I don't think this country is good enough. I don't think this country still has a future. Meanwhile, in the present, the older generation are keep on saying that the future Indonesia is in the palm of your hands. 2045, the golden year of Indonesia. They keep on putting those heavy expectations upon us. Here I will explain to you, but before that, let me introduce myself first. My name is Taritsa from Public Senior High School 1, Martapura. The desperation of yachts that wants to saying, oh my god, this country doesn't have any future anymore. The desperation of yachts who lose hope in this country is just the tip of the iceberg. In order to gain the golden year of Indonesia, the role of the yachts are very essential. As the younger generation, we are expected to be the pioneers of progressive movements in order to support this country's development. You name it. But how come we can achieve the golden year of 2045 if the yachts don't have any motivation to help develop the country anymore? Now, before we're talking about it even further, let's discuss about the basic. Imagine an ideal world, imagine a utopia where everything is just right. In that kind of world, what kind of things should yachts who live in the present, what kind of things should us who live very long after the independence proclamation should do in order to serve Indonesia? Remember, since we cannot hold up any weapon and sacrifice our life for Indonesia, what kind of thing we could do to serve Indonesia? What kind of thing we could do to substitute such a patriotic act? I believe that whatever we do in the present will forever be incomparable to the things yachts who live pre-independence did. But things we could do in the present is to fight intelligently. In this era, yachts are the group of communities who are expected to set milestones for their greater future. We make today's great in order to make future even greater. Meanwhile, the older generations are keep on giving negative stigmatization towards us as yachts. All Gen Z could do is complain without action. Gen Z always bring their mental health issue towards everything they do. Gen Z could do nothing, they are weak. Are you familiar with those stigma? Or have you ever got those sentences intended to you? Yes, the older generation keeps on comparing their era with ours. Meanwhile, they don't understand the differences between those two eras. They compared their era with our youth. They compared their youth with our youth. It's irrational because those two eras have different situations, have different condition. Now let's discuss about the present. Despite the stigma, youths are the clump of people who have been standing up and fighting for their rights, for citizens' rights. They are the most active and vocal about supporting right-doing and sanction wrongdoing. Political sector, cultural and environmental sector, and even in social sector. To name a few months ago, in the presidential election era in February, while misinformation and fake news have spread all around the world like air, there is a movement coming from youths called Bijak Memilih that prevented those fake news from spreading. Bijak Memilih by What Is Up Indonesia providing informations to fellow new voters, fellow young voters in presidential elections. They raise the awareness of political choices and views so people, especially the young people, don't vote recklessly, rely on TikTok FYP, Instagram Reels, or X timeline anymore. Isn't it amazing to know how much effort yachts give for Indonesia's future? Especially in this branch in politics, while yachts are often stigmatized as phlegmatic lump of people. Aside from that, we also have humanists. an organic movement that was formed as Anies Baswedan voters at first, initiated and consists of young clumps of people. In this present, when political issues about ruling have caused a mass demonstration in a whole country, they were the one who provides logistic for those demonstrators, especially in Jakarta. They also provided medical support for injured demonstrators. Even though they were formed as Anies Baswedan base of voters at first, they have transitioned from a presidential candidate support base to a non-profit organization, non-profit community that focus on the social issues. A few months ago, there was a massive flood in Demak. Humanis is one of the non-governmental organizations that initiates crowdfunding in order to help affected people, impacted people. Now imagine, after the things Yachts have give for the society, how came this clump of dedicated people are still called lazy and weak? Even though with the issue of cultural slaughter, there was an indigenous community in Papua who had to give up their cultural forest for the government in order to build a palm oil company. Remember the hashtag All Eyes on Papua that blew up on X last June? Could you guess who was the initiator of that hashtag? It was Sir Pandu Tanoyo, 23-year-old man. If it was not the Yachts who are chronically online that blew those issues up in social media, who else will give the stage for those indigenous community to get justice? In conclusion, Yachts are the pioneers of changes. Even though we cannot fight physically like the heroes back then, we are holding up the ideas of the ideal future we want to fight for. If we are not here to speak about what we think is right or wrong, what will the direction of this country head to? I do believe that Yachts are the pillar of making a greater and better future, and we hold such a strong role to give a significant impact for this country. That's all from me. Thank you for listening.